2 of our CHCH media panel as we continue to explore the changing face of the business we call news. And once again, we'll be discussing the importance that you and our community play in how we do things. If you missed part 1, you can watch it on YouTube or at chch.com. But for now, let's join Dan, Connie, Bubba, and Alex Reynolds as they discuss how things have changed and how all of us get the news to air. On the theme of changing technology, I know, Randy, to bring you into this, when you started at Queen's Park and had to file your story, you had a very interesting way of having to do that.
Well, there was no such thing as landlines. So what we did every single day, I would drive to the CN Tower with the story cut, running, driving like a fiend through downtown traffic. Imagine trying to do that now from Queen's Park to the CN Tower. And I would go up the tower. And on the elevator, I had a special card to get in, zoom up to the top. At the top of the tower, there's a ring. And you can see it if you look at the tower, and it is canvas. And it's held in place by higher pressured air inside it than there is outside. And in that ring, I don't know if it's still there, but there used to be microwave gear. So I would go up, we had a tape machine up there, I'd stick the tape in the machine, and we'd beam it across the lake to the mountain, to our receiver on the mountain. I did that every day for, I think, 5 years. So I've been up the CN Tower thousands of times. we went and we climbed up to the very top of the tower on these ladders and stuck our heads out these observation decks. And we'd go for a drink in the revolving restaurant up there after work. And, you know, I knew the person that ran the arcade. She'd let us play for free. Like it was.
Well, and we also used to have our stories driven in because we had a Niagara bureau. Somebody would drive every day. It was their job. It was Fast Eddie. Remember? Fast Eddie would come in at around.
I remember Fast Eddie. We're covering an election campaign up north, and I'm following Frank Miller, and we're landing in all these little towns and like gathering news, and then we'd bring the tapes, and you'd go to an airport. Like we went to the Thunder Bay Airport, and I'd just go up to a passenger and say, I'll give you $20, you take these things to Toronto Airport, somebody will meet you when you get off the plane, and they'll give you another 20. And Fast Eddie would go meet the person. Can you imagine doing that now? Here, just take this random thing out of an airport.
From a stranger.
From a stranger, yeah. And that's the way we covered elections.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
See, and Nicole, Manisa, Eric, Emily, and Simone, you'll have stories like these. Yes. You will have stories like these. Our 70th anniversary media panel will continue right after this.
Worship me!
All hail the new season of Crapopolis.
Cool! It's better than anything I imagined. The offerings are pouring in. Someone even gave me a baby.
An all-new episode of Crapopolis, Sunday at 9:30 on CHCH.
What do you do if your child needs hospital treatment, but your family lives far away? Ronald McDonald House is a place for families to stay while their child is in hospital. Because when families stay together, sick children get stronger.
Watch Morning Live and travel to Quebec with me. I'll be touring the nearby Outaouais and Laurentians regions for winter fun, including snowshoeing at Mont-Tremblant National Park. I'll be staying at the Fairmont Tremblant, celebrating at the iconic Igloo Fest Gatineau, visiting the Canadian Museum of History, the amazing Snowflake Kingdom at Winterlude, and so much more. Watch Morning Live on CHCH as we say Bonjour Quebec, February 26th to 28th.
You cracked it. Cracker Barrel, the premium cheese to elevate your meals.
So when I went to sleep, my jewels were here. And when I woke up, gone. Tonight's morning, and I have an espresso coffee. Unforgettable. My jewels.
I must confiscate the evidence.
Don't forget to recycle.
Nespresso. What else?
How did this become my life? Giving pony rides to Emma's ghastly creations. Wrestling with Jackson, the pantless prodigy. Then there's these two. Crunching on oatmeal crisp like life wasn't better before kids. Ugh, that again.
You okay, Sully?
Oh, he wants out.
Come here, boy. Let's go, bud.
Looking for the fastest online personal loan? Well, look no further. Spring Financial offers fully online personal loans with zero stress and no need for branch visits. But don't take our word for it.
Thank you. Thank you, Spring Financial.
Thank you very much.
Spring Financial is the best.
Apply today at springfinancial.ca.
This is JTV. This is JTV, and this is JTV. Shop JTV Jewelry Television and JTV.com for amazing jewelry looks at unbelievable prices. Every style, every color, everything you love about jewelry. This is JTV.
So the internet has changed so much, filing stories and that kind of thing. But how you have to also be aware of the internet and what is out there. Checking facts, if you're using stories from the internet. How has that changed reporting and presenting it on air?
I think that Zoom, although it is a very useful tool, I think that it has diminished reporting in that you do not have the same contact, the same experience with the person that you're interviewing. Like, I don't think you have the ability to put forward what the feelings are and what you've experienced. I just think that it has diminished reporting.
Yeah, there's nuances. Bubba, you and I were talking about that yesterday because I was the police reporter, the crime reporter for many years, and I wouldn't start at the station. I'd go to actually like Hamilton Police Station, and we'd find out what had happened overnight. But you develop a real trust, and you develop like with that close contact, and if you'd have to pick up the phone and call somebody, right? And actually go out and talk with them for a long time. Right now, it's like, okay, we're setting up Skype or Zoom, and it's like when you think you've got your like 30-second soundbite or 15-second soundbite, you kind of in your head go, okay, I'm done, right? Whereas an interview would wrap up, you still have those social skills that you have to have while things are packing up and you're actually leaving. And it's, I think that connection and those contacts and that trust
yes,
is gone.
From a Hamilton perspective, can remember going to Iverwin Stadium, talking to a coach. Now, yes, conducting an interview, but also turning off the camera, sitting down with the coach, a player, getting to know them, getting to know their story. Also talking about whatever I needed to talk about for that particular newscast. You build a relationship with all people in sports, whether even executives. And that's lost now because what we're dealing with right now in sports is very much like what we're doing right now, but in a different way. The athlete or the coach is, like yourself, sitting at a podium, and you can only ask so many questions. And there's someone off on the side who's the PR director that's looking at a clock saying, okay, guys, you got 10 minutes, guys, girls, well, you got 10 minutes with this particular person, or 5 questions, and when it's over, it's over. And that person walks away. Reporters don't travel with teams anymore. So you don't build that relationship, that trust. So when you're translating whatever you do know to the audience, you have this knowledge of a particular person or athlete that you know about that you can translate without giving away secrets. And I think that builds audience and announcer trust as well, too.
That in-person connection is vitally important.
Yes.
And Zoom was wonderful. Even teaching, though, during the pandemic, it was great.
Yes.
But, you don't have the connection. And the other connection is with the viewers. Viewers react to that emotional feel. And that's the feel that is so necessary in a one-on-one, person-to-person moment.
When I started, I was a VJ, and I became a reporter. I got to work with Dwayne a lot, and it was wonderful. I think that also being here for the time at 2015, I saw how many people went into doing a newscast before, how many reporters we had, how many cameras, all of the resources. That has changed drastically. We have way more VJs than ever going out on their own and putting a story together and then having to come back and edit. So while I 100% agree that those really important, crucial connections and touching interviews should be done in person, there should be no excuse for doing them over Zoom, I have found that with trying to get everything together on your own as a VJ, if you do have to put a Zoom interview in because you want that extra voice or that other side of the story, I would rather do that and not be beating myself up about it and not doing it in person. You know what I mean?
So
I think it's just, it was shocking to see the change in the newsroom of how big it went to how small it went, but we were still doing an hour show.
And you had no choice.
Right, it was no choice.
You go with the tools you have.
So it's a tool, like Zoom is a good tool to have, but I feel like we've all gotten so comfortable with using it. And if you can push for live interviews, I think, in-person interviews, you do get that emotion, and it's something unique, and I don't want to say like almost, it is unique, it's almost special, like to be there in person with someone who's experienced something, who can literally point to like, this is my house that was like on fire, you can see it behind me. Or police, I've seen like recently where police were like, it was right there in that alley, like behind you, when that's not the emotion you can get through Zoom. Amazing as Zoom is, that it can connect people internationally and globally. It's important, especially for local stories, to be able to actually be there.
Is that going to be an ongoing battle?
It's a daily battle to just try and convince people, like, I'll come to where you are, let's do this in person. Because I think the fear too is that if you're over Zoom, you can actually bring up almost like a script, like something you can read off of, and they already know what they want to say, and so it's not really natural. You're not actually getting the answers you want. If you're in person, they're looking at you. It's coming off of their top of their head, so you're going to get the most authentic answer. So
like, there's a lot more sometimes you get when you stop pressing that record button and you talk to them a little bit more beforehand. You get, because you can always see the difference of the answers when you're having a conversation with them, and the second they go on camera, it changes drastically, right? So then sometimes you can kind of gauge that, and you know that this is who they were before, like off camera. Let's kind of try to bring that out, and you can do that. And then sometimes you also get way more when you see them in person. They're like, oh yeah, hey, like my next door neighbor also said the same thing. They'll come with you to go talk to their next door neighbor. And then you can get their neighbor as well for the story. Sometimes people are afraid to do an on-camera interview, but when we say, they're like, when we're like, okay, how about Zoom? They're like, okay, I'm willing to do it.
But also even being like in person, you can kind of gauge their energy almost, and you can also be that source depending on the interview. But like if you're talking to someone who's gone through something traumatic, you can still be there.
I think part of the issue, not necessarily with Zoom, but more so the reliance on the internet, is that now a lot of organizations like police, fire, whatever it is, really get to put that wall up between us, where we can't just show up at the police station and say, okay, give me the detective, like I would have some questions. I have an email address that I have to send it to for a lot of different places. Some places don't even have a phone number I could call anymore. I have to reach out over email, and then they can choose whether they respond to me immediately or tomorrow, or if I have to follow up several times or whatever it is. And it's under the guise of, well, we'll have like 24/7 communication. We'll always be able to communicate, but we lose a lot of access of in-person through those things. And that's police and fire, I don't mean to pick on them, but it's school boards, it's organizations, it's city council, it's the city as a whole, it's all of these different organizations.
Yeah, and all of those things, police, politicians, they're all starting to put stuff on X to communicate. And that way they're driving the public narrative before we can get anywhere near it.
And ask the questions.
And ask the questions that need to be asked. They'll say, well, we put a statement on Zoom out about that. Yeah, well, you just completely ignored the important questions. You just put what makes you look good. We have to, going forward, really be wary of how much we rely on those statements that police are putting out over, or anybody else, over social media.
Because frequently they refuse to answer questions after that.
Yeah, they'll put it up and they'll say, well, that's it, read our Zoom. And it's like,
read our statement.
Come on.
Our 70th anniversary media panel will continue right after this.
So am I dead? Because I'm feeling a little ghosty.
Is that me?
That's my life from now on. I'm talking to spirits, ghosts, whatever you are.
I don't know if I'm the same kind of doctor that I was before.
Well, are you better or are you worse?
Saving Hope, Tuesdays at 10 on CHCH.
I know you all need a win.
You've got a shot at something amazing.
It could happen here.
Hey, free coffee. This Volkswagen ID buzz won't win itself. This is our game.
Get ready to roll starting Monday.
Everybody knows what you got.
Tap into slots with over 1,000 games and new ones added daily. Tap into slots. Tap into Botano. Botano. The game starts now.
Smooth melting Lindor by the Lind Maitre Chocolatier. You choose the moment. We provide the bliss.
And your car is ready to go.
Great.
Huh. Did you want to redeem your Canadian Tire money? You've got enough for your oil change to be free.
Wait, I can pay with Canadian Tire money?
Oh, yeah.
What? I could pay with Canadian Tire money?
Rewards for auto service? Feels this good. Earn and redeem Canadian Tire money for auto service. Only in Canada's Garage.
Looking to sugar down and protein up? Enjoy tasty Too Good yogurt with 80% less sugar than the leading flavored yogurt and high in protein. It's the afternoon snack that's got your back. Less sugar, high protein. Too Good.
I love you. Hey boy, what you eat? Hamburger, give me some pretty. I bet you can't say eeny, meeny, gypsalini, ooh, pop, pop, bellini, achi, cachi, liberace, I love you. Eeny, meeny, gypsalini, ooh, pop, pop, bellini, I love you.
Do you know what happens to funds from charitable bingo and gaming centers? Charitable Gaming is proud to support programs which help people recover from life-altering conditions. In the past year, we've raised over $100 million for Ontario charities. Find a charitable gaming center near you and play for a community win. Charitable Gaming. Community good.
If you're paying high interest rates on your credit card, you're wasting money. Consolidated Credit can work with your creditors to reduce your total payments by up to 50% and lower your high interest rates so you can stop juggling multiple payments. Save thousands in interest charges and pay off your credit card debt fast. You don't have to be good with money because we are. Call 800-835-4023 for a free consultation or go to debthelpnow.ca. 800-835-4023. That's 800-835-4023.
How about our connection with the community and our involvement within that? I know Dan and Connie, you've been heavily involved, Annette as well, with the community over the years. Important?
Oh, absolutely. Connie and I don't know if it started with us, but it sort of felt like it sometimes. Between us, we might do up to 100, 150 different jobs a week or a month, whatever. And the telethon was a classic example of how a television station can play a very integral role in helping the community develop.
Do you know the other story that was really important? We did a one and a half hour special, the abduction of Christian friends.
Yes, we did.
1998, this terrible killing of the St. Catherine schoolgirl. We did a live hour and a half. You hosted it.
Yes. Yeah.
And we had people phoning in with tips. The Green Ribbon Hotline was formed.
Yep.
People could phone in with their tips. We did reenactments. We interviewed the family, we interviewed the police, the FBI came up and did interviews with us.
Yeah, from Buffalo, yeah.
But it made you feel part of the community because you were helping to try to solve this case.
You were part of it. My husband, David Wilson, who was the former creative director here, directed that whole production. And it's so hard to describe the feeling when a community, and I'm talking a greater community of Southern Ontario, comes together for a cause. I mean, we saw 9/11 as well, which was a whole different story on a different scale. But it's a very powerful tool to have a strong connection with the community. And it's a two-way street. We have to listen to what the community wants as much as we have to tell them what's going on. So it's got to be an ongoing dialogue, and it's got to be from the top.
Yeah.
I mean, the station has to invest in the community, be part of it, be part of the change making of a community.
Yeah. But just to bring to light the fact that how important these shows like the abduction of Kristen French was, and let's not forget Leslie Mahaffey in there as well.
Yes.
But after that show, over the course of the next 24 hours, I heard they got 2,000 phone calls because they were looking for a specific car, and they had from the profiler kind of a loose evaluation of who this guy might be. A carpenter, works with his hands, is a mechanic, blah, blah, blah. There were all these different things. And all of a sudden, everybody and his cousin was on the phone to the police department. They were inundated with phone calls down there. And I don't know if any one of those particular calls led to the arrest of Paul Bernardo, but boy, there was no shortage of involvement from the community.
It was very similar recently in 2013 with the Tim Bosma disappearance. You guys were involved with Tim Bosma.
Now, for me, it was the Tim Bosma case. That was huge. Not only were at the time we were looking for him, he was just missing, right? We were looking for that truck, and then it just went on from there, and we covered it right from him missing to being found, right to the court case, and then we were live outside. Nicole was there, I think. Yeah, Nicole was there, and we were outside that court case, outside the John Sapinka courthouse.
And Nick Dixon was covering that as well, and we got very close with the family, and there's that rapport.
It's being part of the solution.
Yes.
It's helping the station be part of a solution to fix something for everyone's sake.
I think of Alex too, and your rapport with the arts community.
Yes.
And how many times you would take us out? You would sometimes, because you always had a spare ticket, and you would take your coworkers out, and forget about whatever show it was. People would come up, like huge entertainers would come up, and it's Alex Reynolds, right?
So true.
But you had such a huge impact on the arts community in this in this area.
What you've been talking about and the connection that you've been making with the public and people you're talking to, I've had that experience, and the only why it worked for me is I find too often in big station interviews, New York and everything, the person asking the question wants to be the star.
Always,
And I think, come on, you're doing a job. And they try to get personal. Well, I think this station has got a reputation for being fair and honest like that.
Don't be afraid of the tough questions. It's how you ask them. And then that reputation does you well in the future, because people will understand that that's how you operate as a journalist, right?
Same way, Harrison Ford exploded at me during an interview. He got mad. I said, I did not think that this film was all that great simply because I didn't think the writing was up to par with the original. I'll have you know, he says, I come to work all knowing. I said, that's not what, I'm not criticizing you. I said, I thought the scripting was weak. I saw him again 2 years later, and he apologized.
That speaks to your reputation.
I don't care about their personal lives.
Yep.
I want them as I'm interested in their talent, because I'd sure love to be able to sing, to conduct an orchestra, to write a novel, to do. I don't. I have an appreciation of the arts and performances. I go to the theater, watch live performances, go to see opera. It's just thrilling. Except for this one up here.
But go back to Tom Charrington for just a minute. Tom had another unique quality that most of us don't possess. He had the person he was interviewing terrified before they even sat down.
But they all wanted to be on the show.
And they all wanted to go with him.
Prime ministers, everyone.
Because of his attitude and because of his ability to get the point.
And being honest about it.
Oh yeah, and Tom pulled no punches at all. I mean, he was totally fearless.
Now
Absolutely.
that brings up a very interesting point. Is that we've talked about the legacy people, you and Connie and Alex, Dan, but also Tom Charringtons, the Norm Marshalls, the Dick Beddoes, and all the way through the years. Vic Cummings here for so long. That we all our different generations kind of, if you could say this, stand on the shoulders of the ones that went before. The newer reporters, you realize that everything that you're doing You're building on top of their legacy and what they've done for their community. Is that daunting? Or is that something that you're working for?
Yeah, it's definitely daunting. I think everyone will agree with that. We've been talking a lot about like the difference between then and the difference between now, but like at the base core of journalism, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Like the relationships, asking those questions, the hard questions in the right way. You know, it's all the same. Yeah, there's differences in social media and how we gather, where we get it, but at the end of the day, it's all about journalism. It's all about the truth at the end of the day. So it is daunting to follow in their footsteps, who have done an obviously very successful job. And in panels like this, hearing about it, it's an inspiration moving forward for us.
Opinions?
And just moving forward, even beyond journalism, I mean, I was starstruck when I started, when I first met you, Annette, okay? Yes, and being here, I was like, wow, like these are people that I have watched. I'm still starstruck, okay? No, but it's what you've done in the community. It's what we had just all been talking about, in the outreach and the charities and everything, and connecting with people, not just in Hamilton, but all across Southern Ontario and beyond. And I think that that's something that the newer generation, we have to look at too and think, in what ways are we also giving back to the community and helping out? And that also fosters the relationship and the viewership for CHCH.
Manisa, thoughts?
Well, it's the foundation that you guys all set up, right? That relationship with the community, because anyone, I know for a fact I'm not alone. Anyone who walks up to us when we're in the community, they're like, I've been watching CHCH for years. And that is exactly why we're like, and the second they leave, we're so happy, because they walked up to us, they were talking to us, they're talking about how they love what we're doing still and everything, and that is pressure for us. But it's also like thank you to all of you for actually making that foundation for starting off that relationship. And it's on us to sustain it, you know, and it's a lot of pressure, but it's amazing because that love was already there. So we didn't have to start from scratch, and that trust was there. So it makes it all the more, it's a goal for us. It's something that we want to stay true to. I don't know if you guys agree.
Well, it's also like warm, and it's such a good feeling, especially when people, it shows that people are still watching the news. Like, people come up to us of all generations, and like I had like this little girl who's like 3 years old, and her mom was like, oh, she watches you every morning. I'm like, amazing. But it just goes like, people still want to watch the news, and they love watching CHCH because of the product that we always put forward. It's always reliable and trustworthy, and I think that speaks to the foundation, like Manisa said, that other legacy media people have put forward.
Our 70th anniversary media panel will continue right after this.
The world's most smartest detective returns.
Did you not get the invite?
I got your invite, and I wiped my butt with it.
I sent it in an email.
Which is why I need a new laptop.
John Hamm as Detective Marvin Plute in
Grimsburg.
Sundays at 8:30.
All my ladies roll your deal like this. When you move your body, feel confident. All my ladies try this deal real quick. Let your body how you see fit. My neck, your back, I smell so good, they ask.
Isn't life wonderful? Work's great. Fantasy team's a winner. Emma's an artist. And Jackson's a free spirit. And this oatmeal crisp, so crunchy, so good.
Dave, pass the oatmeal crisp.
Loving the shawl, babe.
What keeps baby's skin healthy? A diaper that doesn't leave skin wet. That's why Pampers Swaddlers absorbs wetness better for up to 100% leak-proof protection and 0% skin irritation. Pampers, for healthy baby skin.
You cracked it. Cracker Barrel, the premium cheese to elevate your meals.
My great-grandfather, Joseph Critelli, left southern Italy and emigrated to Niagara in 1893. His son, Thomas H. Critelli, opened Critelli's first store in Thorold in 1914. Inspired by style and quality, our family expanded with stores in Niagara Falls and right here in downtown St. Catharines. Together with my daughter Julia, Critelli's legacy of client service and value continues through 5 generations.
Our business evolves with our clients. Critelli Furniture, our rug market, and Critelli Modern Furniture provides our guests with a comprehensive selection. Furniture and authentic hand-knotted rugs become a part of your home, your lifestyle, and cherished family memories. Critelli's professional design team look forward to greeting our clients with fresh ideas that inspire their very best selections. Discover all that is unique here at Critelli's. We all look forward to seeing you soon.
Everybody knows what you got.
Tap into slots with over 1,000 games and new ones added daily. Tap into slots. Tap into Botano. Botano. The game starts now.
We created these. We're 4 Canadian friends that quit our jobs because we hated our underwear. We couldn't take the chafing, riding up, and constant adjusting. So we spent 12 months creating our own. They're made with a premium modal fabric that's breathable like cotton, but it won't stretch out. And we designed them to contour and support the boys, preventing sticking. We also made it to Dragon's Den and received offers from 4 different dragons. So visit manmadebrand.com to experience ultimate crotch comfort today.
What is the future of local news for us?
I think it's brighter than it has been because for a while it was disappearing and we saw so many local stations cut. We saw, I mean, remember when we went, we had to put everything through an Ontario filter? It was a failed experiment. Yeah. Every single story we had, think about what somebody in Wyerton is going to relate to this story. And it's like, there are some stories that just don't. Yeah. Right? So local is so important. And I do think our station has done a good job of being in our core communities, Hamilton, Halton, Niagara. But I think it's also because we live here. And so, and we live in Hamilton, Halton, Niagara. And we all come in with, hey, this is going on in my neighborhood. You know, is this, I think this is a story.
Yeah, we have families now in the neighborhood. I have young children now, so local news is still very important as the generation grows. And living in Hamilton, Haldimand area, yeah, it's very important to live and work in the station.
And that's another reason to get out and go face to face with people.
Yeah. I think it's always fun to identify someone that's local that's doing something, because sports is generally international. It's national. Look at what this kid is doing. Again,
Wayne Gretzky.
Wayne Gretzky. Shea Gilgeous
Shea,
Alexander. He's everywhere. Just interviewed with Kim Kardashian. And I can continue to say Hamilton's own, a kid that got cut from this high school and went to another high school, right? And look where he is now, right? So it's an example, and I know from a sports perspective, there's a lot of kids that are, and even parents that are watching. Yeah, I remember that kid, or or the kids that want to be like that person. And this is all levels of sports right now, and you're able to look into the bios of so many athletes at this point right now, and you continually keep pounding to people that, hey, that kid just lived around the corner from you, and look what he's doing.
You can relate, right? He's at the Y, practicing. I'm at the Y practicing. I can relate to these athletes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, these stars.
Absolutely.
And if you don't have the local content to follow them and tell them what they're up to, how are we going to know?
Absolutely.
One of the rules we used to live by, I don't know if it's the same case now or not, but you lead with local or localize the lead. So
that's exactly
basically what it comes down to is if you got some local kid playing in an NHL final, the first words out of your mouth in that sportscast that night is going to be about that kid and that team and how well they might do. The rest is just let her go. But that's the absolute truth. And it's the same with news. If there's some way you can, if there's some Canadian that's been snatched off the streets of Russia or some such ridiculous thing, it could happen. The reality is that's your lead. Automatically, it just has to be because that person is from your backyard.
We also were willing to do stories, and people throw themselves into stories that other stations would think beneath them, I believe. We've done stories on the fattest cat that's ever been in the Lincoln Humane Society. Yes. We do stories about
the Adams
zucchini, so to speak.
The St. Catherine's man with the longest zucchini in the world.
Yeah, and there's just like, those are stories that the public have incredible interest in. Mm-hmm. You know, this cat had been in a tree for 5 days. I'm looking at it on the web. I got to watch the news tonight to see how they got this cat down. And we see value in that, where the bigger players may not.
There's Joe Bananas and Nipper the Gar-Nose pipe that kids released at Brawny Park. These were the stories that I did that people reacted to. And these stories, again, you know, they speak to what people, human beings, care about, and just big picture on the whole local news thing. It's so important to democracy itself. I mean, I'm talking big picture now, but it's so important. And I worry so much when I see the weekly newspapers closing, and I know how hard it is when resources are stretched and you don't have the budgets to go out and do everything. And I feel for that, and it really worries me. And all I can say is there's the big sail-off, what happened with Rogers. I'm so grateful that some of these local owners have taken ownership of some of our stations in Hamilton with K-Light. And I'm hopeful that we'll go back to that situation where there is more local ownership, more competition. That's going to really stir up the whole industry again, and hopefully we'll bring back more resource and more jobs. I think when the anti-combines laws went away and people, all the titans were buying everything, that was the beginning of a lot of our troubles.
Dualities in radio.
We heard this word called convergence, and it was ownership and technically. And I think maybe in my ideal world, I'd love to see that happen one day.
So that's one aspect of local, but we get inundated by so much that's international that are big stories. And it's going to be up to you in the back row to take those international stories and make them local by some means. And it's going to be up to you to decide how we're going to do that. Bring in local people who might be related to, that's going to be up to you guys.
Yeah, I think that's something that we've, maybe not more so, something recently that I was dealing with, like with national stories, is like the wildfires in BC and Alberta, like for example, and trying to make that connection local, using resources like on social media and trying to connect with people here who may have family out west who are realizing something that they're going through, and that's the connection that you're trying to make also with weather conditions and that kind of thing. So, you know, you are trying to always draw that connection in at the end of the day to also talk about the trending stories and what people want to know.
And it does impact people locally, right? I mean, the big ones right now, we have Israel and Hamas at war, we have Ukraine and Russia. That deeply impacts people in our community. We have people who have been living in Hamilton for generations or recently came over from these countries to Hamilton who have family members who are still in these areas that are trying to get them over here. If any way that we're able to connect with people actually going through this, both brings it to a local level, but it also makes people here who maybe aren't impacted understand it at that deeper level. It is that personal connection. It's not just there's some people at war off in the distance and I don't need to pay attention to it. It's my neighbor is going through this right now.
I think it's what Dan said. We still do the same thing. We find a way to make a story local in whatever way we can. I'll never forget Corporal Nathan Cirillo when he was killed. We had no idea he was from Hamilton at first, but we were all on the story. It was, okay, get to the armory. Like there's, you know, we don't know yet, but you're always finding a way to still make it relevant to our viewers and the local angle of it.
And Brian, you do that every day with your weather. Yeah, we haven't had a chance to talk to you yet about how your technology has changed.
Well, yeah, you try to do that with the weather. We try to focus in on Hamilton, Halton, Niagara, maybe a little bit further into Ontario. I want to ask about, okay, the legacy crew and the people who are here now, who have been here for a while, advice to people who are getting into the business, or to some of the people on the stools at the back. Dwayne, of course, you've been here for a while. but some advice from the people who have been there and been doing it for a while.
Be creative, please. Please be creative. Don't be cookie cutter. It's so easy to walk in and do this job 5 days a week and do what you have to do and go home. Care about what you're going to do. Care the fact that people are listening to you, not just your mom and your dad. There are people in the community that are listening to you. Find ways to touch people, but be creative. Your viewers and listeners will remember when you try to attack a story from a creative angle. And it can't be done every day, but try and be creative. Show your personality, right? I get so many people, and I was reminded when I had COVID, right? And I didn't work for 6 weeks. And getting all the mail came in from people all over Ontario. And people I see now said, hey, when I saw you with COVID, I was really affected. Like, it really bothered me. I was really scared for you, or whatever the case is because I love seeing your smile, or I love the way you present sports, or, you know what, I don't really care about sports, but when you come on and do it, I don't watch. That's the biggest compliment I can possibly get, right? But I think that's because I try to find some way, even if it's a dumb joke I throw in, maybe someone, you know, but try to be creative in any way and show your personality in any way you present.
I never laugh at your jokes.
No, I know. I know.
A classic example of that, Brian, was, you remember this, when Stan would go out and do that weird story. He did it for a few weeks or a month or two. I don't know.
I forget what he called it.
Fair while. I forget what it's called too. But the biggest reaction that we got to a local story was based on that particular report. He went out. There had been a duck.
On the scene, was it on the scene?
On the scene, that was it, yeah. He'd gone out on a story, there was a duck or a swan that had been shot through the neck with an arrow.
I remember that, yes.
And Stan went, pardon the expression, ass over tea kettle, right into the pond after this thing because they had to catch it so they could get the arrow out of its neck.
Yeah.
And man, the phones lit up like they were on fire. We had hundreds of phone calls on that one story.
Yeah.
Although international news and national news and local news is the most important of all.
Yeah.
But all of it is important. But what people remember is the duck with the arrow and the crazy reporter who decided to jump in the pond and save him.
Yeah.
That's your creativity,
That's
right?
what they remember.
That's creativity.
That Bob is saying.
Yep.
You
Other
know,
advice?
Well, what I would say to young reporters or students who are studying journalism is find a way to move the narrative forward. Everyone gets a news release, everyone finds out what's going on. Who is doing something to make it better? And it's all about this whole approach to being positive, and sometimes people say, oh, you know, you can't always be positive, but you can find someone who's moving the narrative forward to make a situation better. And if you focus on that, I think, the next chapter, you're doing two things. You're following the story closely and moving it forward, but you're almost controlling the narrative to shift the focus, the mindset of people to say at home, oh wow, so it is hopeful. Something positive is happening here. And I really, really believe that. And the best advice I can give, to try to move the narrative forward and find someone who's doing something creative to make it better, to move the situation forward.
I say listen to your senior cameraman, because we've seen it.
Oh, that too. That too. Take direction well. Take direction.
And what you just said, Connie, is what Dwayne would always tell me too if we were out. You're like, we need to find a way to make this like a happier story. This could
Oh, there's too much sad news. We need some happy news.
He listens. We hear. We hear that.
You know what I have a long-lasting memory of, these two. Whenever my feature was on the news and you'd introduce it, and then at the end, the two of you, especially you, the two of you would spend a minute or so on that.
We tried to reflect on the stories that we just aired, you know, and
I
show
think
some
being
continuity.
human and just be yourself, get involved in your community, and be aware of what's going on around you.
Okay. Our 70th anniversary media panel will continue right after this.
Gabby Petito, now Friday night.
The text messages you haven't seen. What did they reveal?
And for the first time, her parents and their spouses tell their story.
There was a note found. It said, burn after reading.
My great-grandfather, Joseph Critelli, left southern Italy and emigrated to Niagara in 1893. His son, Thomas H. Critelli, opened Critelli's first store in Thorold in 1914. Inspired by style and quality, our family expanded with stores in Niagara Falls and right here in downtown St. Catharines. Together with my daughter Julia, Critelli's legacy of client service and value continues through 5 generations.
Our business evolves with our clients. Critelli Furniture, our rug market, and Critelli Modern Furniture provides our guests with a comprehensive selection. Furniture and authentic hand-knotted rugs become a part of your home, your lifestyle, and cherished family memories. Critelli's professional design team look forward to greeting our clients with fresh ideas that inspire their very best selections. Discover all that is unique here at Critelli's. We all look forward to seeing you soon.
Do you know what happens to funds from charitable bingo and gaming centers? Charitable Gaming is proud to support programs which help people recover from life-altering conditions. In the past year, we've raised over $100 million for Ontario charities. Find a charitable gaming center near you and play for a community win. Charitable Gaming. Community good.
Thank your skin for all that it does. With Nivea Nourishing Body Milk and 5-in-1 Complete Care, filled with everything your skin needs to be nourished, beautiful, and healthy looking. Give your skin all it deserves. Nivea.
Watch Morning Live and travel to Quebec with me. I'll be touring the nearby Outaouais and Laurentians regions for winter fun, including snowshoeing at Mont-Tremblant National Park. I'll be staying at the Fairmont Tremblant, celebrating at the iconic Igloo Fest Gatineau, visiting the Canadian Museum of History, the amazing Snowflake Kingdom at Winterlude, and so much more. Watch Morning Live on CHCH as we say Bonjour Quebec, February 26th to 28th.
A Tim's Donut and Coffee is the original collab. And now, buy any size original or dark roast coffee and get a classic donut for $1. An iconic deal on the iconic duo with a Tim's Dollar Donut. Order on the Tim's app today.
It's time for Tim's.
This week at The Brick, find incredible deals in every department. Upgrade your bedroom for less with queen fabric beds starting at just $199. And this Cindy Crawford home sofa, available in 2 colors, is only $6.99. The Brick, saving you more.
How about amusing stories that you've been a part of, or most interesting stories that you've had the most fun with? How much time do we have?
Yeah. Well, I think road
We'll check
trips
that.
sometimes. Dwayne and I went on a road trip a while back, and you didn't get out of the airport, and I got to the airport, and then got to the hotel, and yeah, there'll be a room for him, and there was no room
I
for
slept
you.
in a boardroom
You
for
slept
2
in a
nights that had
boardroom.
no bathroom because my room was given away. Not one of my favorite stories.
No, but now we can laugh about it.
Yes.
Now we can.
Al Sweeney and I went up to Ronnie Hawkins' house when Levon Helm died to interview him, and we're standing in the living room looking at all the pictures of Ronnie Hawkins with Clinton.
Everybody.
And everybody.
Yeah.
And as we're standing there, some people walked through the living room with Chinese food, and I looked, and it was Blue Rodeo, the band, coming through. And then Ronnie came in for the interview, and he goes, "I hope they got some of that wonton soup." It was just like, it was very surreal.
Ronnie's a character for sure.
I think some of my most fun ones, I did entertainment before Alex came on board, or we crossed over a little bit. I went on a 20th century junket, Fox junket, to New York City, and they'd set this up for entertainment reporters across the country, and interviewed the stars of 2 movies that had just come out, Romancing the Stone and Stone Boy. So I interviewed Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner and Danny DeVito and Robert Duvall, and I was so excited to meet Michael Douglas that I could hardly talk. And he put me at ease because he wore the same snakeskin boots that he had on in Romancing the Stone. And I had cowboy boots on at the time. Don't ask me why. It was like a fashion faux pas, I guess. But he kind of tapped his foot against my cowboy boot, and I immediately started laughing, and I relaxed. But that was probably the most exciting in a positive way and kind of relaxing, humorous way at the end. But
Here all this time, I thought it was our trip. that was the most exciting.
Oh, when we did the road trip?
Yeah, we
signing
did
on
we
to
did all
the
of Ontario.
transmitters. Yes, we did.
On TV
On
tour.
TV tour.
Launching on TV.
Yes, so
yes.
we were up for what, 4 days, 5 days, something like that.
Oh yeah, we were all over the province, and I remember the link opened while we were away, but we still covered the news from there on the big truck.
Yep.
So we went to the live shot of the link opening, and then we went back
I
to
think we were
what
up
was
in
happening there.
Sudbury.
Sudbury, and we were in gold mines and Timmins, and oh my goodness. We did a lot of traveling.
The 1988 Economic Summit, the G7 meeting in Toronto.
I had that one
It was
somewhere.
before they built the CBC headquarters. So there was a big empty field right underneath the CN Tower. And they made an armed camp. They built 14-foot razor wire fencing around this whole, probably a 10-acre area. They had a safe zone. So you had a 10-foot or 14-foot barbed wire fence. Then you had a chain link one with razor wire on top of it. And between the fences, there were dudes with machine guns and vicious dogs. So it was one of the most secure places I have ever seen. To get into it was, you had to go through metal detectors. You were searched. Your gear was searched, everything. But once you got in, it was simply a zone for the media to party in.
What zone is that not?
I'm telling you.
And there was they had a Shopsy set up, they had different restaurants, they had bars, and
There
it was
you are.
all free, and it was for...
That's it.
And you met people from all over the world.
That same weekend, though, Al Sweeney and I were between the SWAT team and the protesters, and we were in the media
Yeah, well,
in the
you were
middle.
in the wrong place.
Yeah, we were definitely in the wrong place.
Dwayne, you go down and cover the riot.
CNN
I'll
was
be in the
there
bar.
with gas masks, and I said, I'll be good. It's okay.
Chantel, you were going to...
I was just going to say, Brian, do you not remember being in Niagara Falls, being soaked by the falls? I remember I had just started, and they were like, we're going to Niagara Falls. Do you want to come? I said, sounds great. Sure. I'm just going to get scripts and help out as much as I can. I was just production assistant, but I remember a morning show went there, Annette.
Yes.
And I just remember you being at the falls and just right at the base of the falls.
The base of the falls,
drenched.
because overnight they reduced the flow over the falls to divert it to other areas. But at 8 o'clock in the morning, they put the whole flow on.
Yeah.
So we're at the base of the falls, of
Yeah.
the Horseshoe Falls. We're fine from 6 until 8 o'clock in the morning, no problem. 8 o'clock comes along. 2 seconds, you're drenched because all of a sudden, Luke was drenched, the camera equipment
you're
was
holding your
drenched,
mic trying to get
and
the weather report.
Exactly.
I don't even know how you could see. Your glasses must have been soaked.
Yeah, absolutely soaked for the next hour because we had to do the
we
show
went
for the
an
next hour.
And then just to touch on Niagara Falls, that's when I first started. And then, I don't know, a decade later, Nicole and I made, we did 2 newscasts in Niagara Falls. We actually did the whole station. We were moving from Jackson Street downtown Hamilton to our new building where we are now in Innovation Drive. But they didn't want to go off air. So in between leaving Jackson and coming up here, we had to go somewhere. So we went to Niagara Falls in a hotel room. And with this crew, this amazing crew that we put together, and
and
so
old
many
school,
people
no
behind the
prompters.
scenes.
We had scripts. That was it.
And we went out on the balcony of the Marriott Hotel, and we broadcast live 6 o'clock and the 11 o'clock news Saturday and Sunday. And so no one at home would ever know that we were moving stations.
See how nicely it went?
Yeah.
Good for you. Anybody else got some great stories?
Honestly, I think the funniest thing was when I was doing Morning Live. It just made me really appreciate a bathroom. Oh my gosh. Rural areas that we would go for a fire, whatever the situation, and this is when we had News Now. So they'd be like, okay, no, you got to stay on. You got to do a 10 o'clock hit. You're going all the way to the noon show. I'm like, okay, I've been out here since 6 a.m. I gotta go. And so, a lot of coffee. This is probably TMI for the show, but I mean, those are the kind of funny memories that I have. Is I could write a book on the places I've gone. So that's probably it's not funny this time. It's funny now. And Shoppers Drug Mart, shout out, has a nice portable little toilet that you can bring with you for anyone else who's going to be Simone. Noted.
See, Simone, you'll have stories like this.
There, on the subject of toilets.
Yes. Sorry for bringing that up.
2 quick things.
2? Okay.
Running in to get my mic on for the noon show, it was maybe 5 minutes to 12. And I thought, well, I'll deke into the bathroom really quickly first. And I had it down pat, you know, I knew it. And my mic was clipped on my waistband. And then I get up to, and guess what? My waistband flipped over and the pack went down the toilet. And I'm pulling like this on my wire and it comes up empty and I went flying into the control room. Robin McKee was on audio. I said, I need a mic. I gave you a mic. I need another mic. And there was no time to argue. They brought out the other one in a paper towel halfway through the noon show. So funny, but kind of crazy. And then the telethon days when we'd have like 60 seconds for a break. And then I came back and they said in the control room, by the way, turn off your mic.
Yes, we get caught with that in the morning sometimes. Yes,
that's
we
it
do.
from my bathroom.
Speaking of bathroom jokes, is it about time for a little break?
Great story. And I have one story that I'm going to share. I was out doing the 11 o'clock weather one night, and it was a Grey Cup night. And I can't remember, it might have been 1999 with the Tiger Cats won in 99. So I was on location downtown Hamilton on King Street for the 11 o'clock news. And of course the revelry was just mad. And camera person was with me. And we were right in the middle of just craziness, kind of around the Sheraton, McNabb Street, that area. So I'm doing the weather, concentrating on what's going on with this monitor that I can just see with the figures and everything. So I'm halfway through it, and all of a sudden, from behind, I'm tackled by a guy in a full dress gorilla suit. Arms wrapped around me, hanging on, bouncing around, and I'm trying to do the weather. These are just some of the things that happen as you do live reports that you just kind of have to roll with. It's always fun.
Could be.
Before I go, what I really want to do here is I want to thank Dan and Connie and Alex for taking the time to come in with us here today, because we constantly get people asking about you. I mean, it continues, and everybody else will attest to that. And that gives you an idea of the impact that you've all had on our community. And I just, thank you for that. And
well, thanks, Brian.
It's wonderful to have you here with us. Yay. Thank you so much.
Thank Hamilton, the greatest place on earth.
Exactly, And the rest of you, what are you doing here? Get back to work. Come on, get going. Oh, Baba.
Just one thing, and I had a podcast about 3 weeks ago. Arash Madani, he's the lead national sportscaster for Sportsnet.
Yep.
And he came in here, and he's worked at some places, and it was a busy day in the newsroom. And he came, and I was just showing him around, and he said to me, and this is we should all appreciate, and you guys set the standards in so many ways for this. He said, wow, and especially what's going on in our industry right now. He said to me, wow, isn't this great to see a live, active, local newsroom? And the action of how many people were working. It was a busy day that day, and we said 5 reporters and camera people, and stuff was going on in the newsroom, assignment, everyone, editors. And he said, wow, look at this. This is so good. Because he's been in a lot of newsrooms, and they're all shrinking. And here we are, independent, and we're doing something right.
Right. And I think that's a great way to wrap things up.
And we're
today.
friends.
Yeah,
right? We all get along.
Yeah, funnily enough, yes, we do, after all these years.
I knew you were going to look at me, Alex.
I want to thank you all for coming. Thank you very much. And thank you at home for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this little glimpse behind the scenes here at CHCH News. We've had 70 wonderful years. Hopefully we'll have many more wonderful years to come.
Hear, hear.
Thank you very much for joining us. We hope you enjoyed our media panel and, of course, loved seeing Dan, Connie, and Alex back on CHCH. And a reminder, you can watch the latest news on Morning Live Monday to Friday starting at 6 a.m. and the evening news at 6, 7 days a week. And, of course, you can stream us from anywhere on our YouTube channel or at chch.com.